Shadow in the Waterfall, submitted by Wayan, Gede. It was supposed to be a peaceful retreat. After weeks of working nonstop, I decided to take a trip to Bali, far away from the chaos of the city. A friend had recommended a remote village near a waterfall, a hidden gem where the waters were said to be healing. But nobody had mentioned the curse that came with it. The village was small, tucked away in the lush greenery, and the locals were kind. They spoke about the waterfall with a sense of reverence. It was beautiful, cascading down from the rocks, the sound of rushing water filling the air like music. I was drawn to it immediately, feeling like this was the perfect place to unwind. But there was something else too, something darker that I couldn't explain. I remember the day clearly. It was warm, the sun shining through the trees, casting dancing shadows on the water. I decided to swim near the waterfall. The water was cool, refreshing, and for a moment, everything felt right. But then it happened. I was swimming towards the base of the waterfall when I felt it, a cold hand, or at least that's what it felt like, grabbing my leg. At first, I thought it was my imagination, maybe the current pulling at me. But then it pulled harder. My heart raced as I tried to swim away, but the grip was relentless, pulling me downwards into the dark water beneath the falls. I kicked and thrashed, panic flooding my mind, but the more I struggled, the stronger the pull became. For a brief moment, I was sure I was going to drown. Just as I thought I'd lose consciousness, it let go. I surfaced, gasping for air, my heart pounding in my chest. I swam back to the shore as fast as I could, trembling, shaken, but alive. When I got back to the village, I noticed a strange bruise around my ankle. It looked like a rope burn or a hang mark, deep and angry, like someone had tied a noose around my leg. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just the rock scraping me as I struggled. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. That night, the nightmare started. I dreamed of the waterfall, the water dark and churning. In the dream, I was standing at the edge, watching as a woman's hand reached up from the depths, clawing at the surface, trying to pull herself free. But she never made it. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart racing, the sensation of being dragged under the water still fresh in my mind. The bruise on my ankle wouldn't heal. In fact, it seemed to get worse, turning from a dull purple to a deep black. It ached, like something was tightening around it every time I moved. I tried to hide it from the villagers, but eventually, one of the elders saw it. He looked at me with wide eyes, shaking his head. "You've angered the spirit," he said softly. "The woman in the waterfall. She was drowned here long ago. Her spirit never left. She pulls those who come too close. You need help." That's when I was taken to the Bomo, the village shaman. He lived in a small hut on the edge of the village, surrounded by offerings and incense. The air inside was thick with smoke, and the walls were lined with talismans and strange symbols. The Bomo looked at my ankle, his face grim. "You're marked," he said. "The spirit has latched onto you. If we don't act soon, she will come for you in the night." The next few days were terrifying. The nightmares got worse. Every night I found myself back in the water, but each time the woman came closer. Her face was clearer now, pale, her long hair floating around her like seaweed, her hands grasping at me. She didn't speak, but her mouth moved as if screaming, her eyes wide with terror. I could feel her fingers wrapping around my leg, pulling me under, my lungs burning as I struggled to breathe. One night, I woke up gasping, my bed soaked with sweat. But it wasn't just the nightmares. I could hear it, the sound of rushing water. It was faint at first, like a distant river, but then it grew louder, like the waterfall was inside the room with me. My heart pounded in my chest as I sat up, my eyes scanning the darkness. That's when I saw it, a shadow, standing at the foot of my bed. It was barely visible, but I could make out the shape of a woman, her hair wet, her body dripping with water. My blood ran cold. I couldn't move. The figure stood there watching me, her eyes hollow, and then she disappeared. The next morning, I felt weaker. The bruise on my ankle had darkened, the pain unbearable. I could barely walk. The Bomo performed another ritual, this time more intense, with more incense and prayers. He told me that the spirit was angry because I had disrespected the waterfall, swimming too close to the sacred ground where she had drowned. She had chosen me because I had ignored the warnings, and now she wouldn't stop until she claimed me. I asked the Bomo why only I had been targeted. Others swam in the waterfall, but they were fine. He looked at me gravely and said, "Sometimes the spirit chooses one who reminds them of someone from their past. Perhaps you remind her of someone who wronged her." The nights continued to worsen. I couldn't escape the feeling of being watched. The sound of water followed me everywhere, even when I wasn't near the waterfall. My dreams became more vivid each time. The spirit came closer, her grip stronger, her presence more overwhelming. I woke up gasping for air, my throat raw as if I had been underwater for real. One evening, just before sunset, I decided to leave the village. I couldn't take it anymore. But as I made my way down the path leading away from the waterfall, I felt it again, something pulling at my ankle. This time, I wasn't near water. I collapsed. The air knocked out of me as I struggled to breathe. The bruise on my ankle burned, and I felt the cold grip tightening. I was sure I was going to die. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The world grew dark around me, and just as I thought it was over, I heard the Bomo's voice. He found me just in time. He performed the final ritual, chanting over me, waving incense as the grip on my ankle loosened. I gasped for air, the pain subsiding, but the fear remained. The Bomo told me that the spirit had been banished, but the mark on my ankle would always be a reminder. I left the village the next morning, but the nightmares still come sometimes. And even now, when I hear the sound of water rushing, I feel her presence, watching, waiting.